Hi, this is Tony with All Things Music. Today we're going to look at the difference between using an effect directly on the track, like a reverb effect, versus using an accent for reverb. So I've already pulled up a session here. It's a template session. It's actually from an old mix from a long time ago. But I kind of zeroed everything out, got rid of all the plugins. It's literally like a blank slate. I did prepare a couple things in advance. I did sort of just get a rough mix for the vocals here. Using the virtual mix rack by Slate. Not usually what I use, but I just wanted to put something quickly here together. And then I've got the isotope ozone here at the end, just to kind of lift the volume a little bit. So for our effect, our reverb effect that I have here, reverb effect, sorry, I can't speak today. I've got Abbey Road plates, typically what I use for my short reverb on for vocals. So I've got that pulled up already. And just to hear the difference. So let's just pull this track up. I got the guitars also in the background.
Wish I'd see your pretty face again, but sheriff caught me running out of town. Honey, just don't talk about it. I'll be hiding south in Mexico.
Now let's switch it to the accent.
Now I'm sleeping on some lonely beach. I miss holding you in my arms. Darling, just don't worry about it. I'll be writing letters every day.
Now back to the reverb. Or to the track.
I'll survive. I'm still alive. Pray I'm alright. If I survive, dreamt I heard you singing
Alright, back to
yesterday.
the reverb on the track.
We walked the beaches of Akumal. Honey, just don't talk about it. Miss you so much makes me feel sad. There's too much
now on the accent.
left unsaid. It take the army to hold me back. Darling, just don't worry about it. Wish to hold you again in my arms. Pray I'll survive. I'm still alive. Pray I'm alright. If I survive, just pray tonight. I'm still alive. If I survive, could only be together. I wish you were here. If it's alright.
Alright, let's go back to effect on the track.
If it's not too clear, pray I'll survive. I'm still alive. Pray I'm alright.
Now back to the accent.
Just pray tonight. I'm still alive. If I survive.
Now back to the track.
Could only be together. I wish you were here. If it's alright.
Now back to the effects end.
If it's not too clear, by this summer
Back to the track.
I'll be sneaking home. One more letter and then I'm done. Honey, just don't talk about it. And I promise I'll be faithful. If they
Now
catch
using the effects
me
end.
heading back north, they'll beat me shaking all in my turn. Darling, just don't worry about it. If not back in June, please carry on. Pray I'll
Back to
survive.
track.
I'm still alive. Pray I'm alright.
Now to the
If
effects
I
end.
survive, just pray tonight. I'm still alive. If I survive, I'll be alright. Pray I'll survive. I'm still alive. Pray I'm alright. If I survive.
All right, so let's talk about when we would use effects, when we would use a reverb effect, right, directly on the track versus as an aux send. So let's talk about that here real quick. Typically, I'm going to use, and it's not common, it's actually kind of rare. I will typically use a reverb effect directly on the track if I want the actual, let's pick on the vocals, right, in this case. If I want the vocals to sound like they're more in the reverb, so to speak, right, versus creating like as if the reverb is like out there, right, the vocals are kind of, I hate to say the word swimming, but swimming in the reverb, right? So it's kind of in the reverb more than it is kind of its own separate element, and then there's reverb around it, right? In certain instruments, on rare occasion, I don't even want to say rare, but on occasion, like there's this one mix that I'm working on where the bass is just too forward, and I can't really record the bass anymore at this point. The song is done, and the bass is just in your face no matter what, no matter what I do with it. And so what I did in this case, I put a reverb effect at 10% wet on the track directly, and all of a sudden the bass now just sits in nicely with the track, right? I've done it in other instances on the kick drum. The kick drum was a sample, maybe I replaced it with another sample, or for whatever reason, I ended up, just the kick drum just didn't work at all, and so I, put just a little bit of reverb on the track itself, directly on the track versus a send, and at 10% wet, right, in terms of the wet dry mix. So now the kick, I'm trying to remember what happened with that track, it was a while back, but the kick is no longer in your face. It's not, it just, that sample, to be specific, if I remember correctly, just sounded too artificial, and it sounded like as if, like you look at a painting and you're putting something on top of the painting versus making that thing that, blend into the painting, right? For lack of a better way to describe it. So now, when would I use an aux send? Aux send, I think, to me, in most cases I would use it. That's the way I was kind of trained for the most part. Before I knew better, I was putting reverb directly on tracks, but when I eventually got, formal training, I was using aux sends more and more, and then I kind of went back a little bit to putting reverb on tracks, obviously with a wet dry mix. But there's more control, I think, also with the reverb on the effects send, right? But to me, it's going to sound cleaner. I've got more control. In this case, you saw me probably mess around with this, right?
Wish I'd see your pretty face again, but sheriff caught me running out of town.
So,
honey, just don't talk about it. I'll be hiding south in Mexico. Now I'm sleeping on some lonely beach. I miss holding you in my arms. Darling, just don't worry about it.
So here I'm going to have some more control, because I can put other plugins on the effects send, right? Whereas here it's just going to be different. Like, how do I explain this? I would typically use something like a multi-band compressor or dynamic EQ, right? After the fact. I could do that before or after the reverb on this. I don't know. To me, let me just scratch what I just said. To me, it's just easier to get the sounds that I want using effects send. On occasion, and it's not common, I will put reverb directly on the track, but that's really for more special instances, right? It's just going to be cleaner this way. And also, I only have to use one reverb plugin. I don't have to instantiate reverb on every single one of these tracks, reverb tracks. I just don't have to do that, right? So I have more CPU power. So I feel like I have more control and I have more CPU power. I can sculpt the sound and shape it so that the song is moving the direction that I want it to see it go in, right? So
Wish I'd see your pretty face again.
here I want to sculpt this a little bit more while we're talking.
Sheriff caught me running out of town.
It's like a lot of low ends.
Honey, just don't talk about it. I'll be hiding south in Mexico. Now I'm sleeping on some lonely beach.
Anywho, I wanted to sculpt the low end a little bit. So that's the difference between the two. Again, you have to, at the end of the day, you have to mix with your ears and with your heart. But I'm going to tell you most of the time, accents is what I use. That's what most professional engineers are going to do. They're going to use accents for the reverb. It's not going to be common that reverb is put directly on any track, whether it's vocals like what we're listening to in this case, right? It's not going to be put on the guitars as much. Bass pretty rare. Drums extremely rare. But anyhow, with that, I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure to subscribe and like and share.
If it's not too clear.